Welcome back to the 5th segment of my last Remnant 100% completion, New Game Plus hard mode run. We are just returning after taking a break and doing some Godwood grinding with new recruits. Starting off here, going to tackle Nest of Eagles, and I'm focusing here on David. I mentioned in an earlier vid that I wanted to get the Balturo set in his hands as early as possible. It is an accessory that is limited to characters who take speed accessories, and so not everyone will ask for it. They also must be in balanced focus in order to even look at it, and David does fit that requirement, so I got it in his hands early. I'm also showing my party setup here prior to the fight. I've got two decent-sized unions basically designed to tackle the boss. I've got a single character union in Darien, strictly for healing and reviving, and then the last one is Sotheby, along with Texthon is there just in case I needed to attack from afar with hexes, but he's also there basically to revive any fallen unions. Kicking things off, I'm just going to stand by on the first turn, build up some AP in David's union. After he's able to use Gaebolg the first time around, the damage dealt will restore AP to his union via the Balturo set. And then following the first wipe of all of the trash mobs, the reinforcements will show up. We'll be able to use Gaebolg once more, and then hopefully we'll have weakened the bosses enough to where the two larger unions will be able to take care of them on their own. So I enjoyed this fight. I pretty much explained the strategy here, and we'll touch base once the fight is over with.
Is that the best you got?
Come on, let's kick some ass! Check this out! How you like that? Victory is within our grasp!
I feel stronger than before!
See that? I'm constantly growing stronger.
Alright, so we got through Nest of Eagles with what I call the classic approach, using David and the Gaebolg, and restoring AP using the Balturo set. I'm going to show an alternative here, still using David but not the Gaebolg. I developed his invocations to where he knows Permafrost, Permafrost 3, as a matter of fact, so he'll be able to use Blackout 3. And that's the whole plan here, as I filled his union with evocation soldiers. Permafrost, being a long-range mystic art, allows me to trigger blackout from afar, potentially. Again, assuming I have enough AP to use it. In this case, Blackout 3, I'll need 85 AP to do so. So I'm going to have to stand by on the first turn to build the AP, but after that, I'm going to look for the right combination in order to launch a blackout, and then again the Balturo set will restore the AP, so I can use it on the subsequent turns. You don't need to use David for this. You can use a couple other speed accessory requesting units. Nora and Loki will both take him as far as unique leaders go, or you can use Rush. He can obviously equip just about any accessory in the game. So I'll leave you to watch the fight. It's going to play out basically the same as the previous one. The main difference here is that I'm actually going to put forth the effort to save the guest union. There's a slight little change in dialogue with the sweet scented maiden in Palais. Provided the guest union never falls, her fiance will live, according to the dialogue, and so it's a little bit more of a positive bit of text there. You get the Libanam sword no matter what, but in this case we're going for the happiest route here, so enjoy the fight.
Thought they'd be made of sterner stuff.
I hope I've grown stronger than before.
See that? I'm constantly growing stronger. Alright, so we are through Nest of Eagles twice now. We got the
happy ending here for the Salopolian couple. We got the Olibanum sword, which I can either keep on rush, David will take at this stage, or Emmy will ask for it. So if it's sitting in your inventory, expect them to bug you for it. From here, the next step in the story would be to go into the aqueducts and finish off the first half. If anything, I would recommend setting foot in the aqueducts to trigger the next wave of guild tasks and available recruits. I'm going to do that, but I'm taking a side trip here to Balak, and the only purpose there is to show that in the guild who the available members are for hire at this point, and then how it changes upon leaving the aqueducts. It's just a very simple demonstration, but if you're looking for unique characters, I would recommend stepping into the aqueducts and stepping back out, coming specifically here to Balak, because Gal becomes available, and he is a very beefy healer-orientated character. He gets a nice free weapon in the early second half of the game, and again, he's got very well-developed lotions actually. So besides having a high HP, decent strength, well-developed combat arts, he's a fine healer. So I'll show that here in just a moment, and then afterwards we're going to move on to basically all things Melphina. We've got the Melphina quest chain, we've got a couple guild tasks to try to tackle along the way, and we'll probably end this video having completed the Reviving Legend, which is the third of the Melphina quests. Alright, so we are in Melphina, and I'm about to start the quest chain, but first I'm going to make a side trip here to the guild to add a character to the party. A certain other player has requested that I include characters in my team that I don't normally use, and Bugsy here fits that bill, and so I'm going to add him to the party. I would not recommend adding him to your team. He's in the merchant class, which is an item arts class, and he doesn't have any item arts, and so what that makes him is very uncooperative as far as getting him to actually use combat arts moves. You have to place him in union with maybe a hot-blooded leader that will draw out more combat arts commands from him. But it was kind of challenged of me to include him, and so I don't have a problem doing so. But his only advantage is that he's got decent health point growth. He will take a blackjack, and so he is a double down candidate, but other than that, I expect a pretty uncooperative character. but we'll make it work. We'll find a way to work him into the team. Here in the pub, we're going to witness some dialogue between Pagus and Maddox, which is the kickoff to the Rainbow Bond quest. I'll agree to do the quest when completing the dialogue with Pagus, and we'll get to that in a different video. Afterwards, you have to speak to the Melphina Knight off on the side of the pub in order to trigger any of these quests, and so you'll have to interact with him first and then proceed to the palace to talk to Roberto. I'm going to take a very quick break. You won't even realize that I did it here before we start the quest, and so off camera I'm going to bring Bugsy up to speed with the rest of the party. Just a few fights, once again Godwoods, to make him less useless. Alright, so we're back, and you'll see here that I put a little effort into Bugsy to bring him up to speed. At least developed his combat arts, specifically the Hyper Hammer art, to level 3. Got him a combo, which you can buy at Zelapalais. It's a large size hammer, and if you're going to eventually give a character a blackjack, which is a weapon that modifies for power, you should get them a combo early on, because that also modifies for power, meaning once again their combat arts will drift towards Mighty and Peerless. Sledgehammers are speed, and so you don't want to have to undo your efforts by going back to the other end of the spectrum once you get them a higher tiered weapon. I also showed that Rago and Vega got a little bit of effort put into them. We went and fought the Death Eater a couple of times to get Refresh and Rejuvenate to level 2. You do need one of those two abilities to be level 2 in order to learn Revitalize once Remedies hits level 6, and so I got the requirement out of the way, and you saw that Rago already had learned Revitalize. Moving on here, we're going to kick off the three Knights quests here in Melphina. The first one's the Broken Seal, and it's got 3 fairly easy boss fights in it, at least for my current party. Not going to have any issues there. One of the 3 boss fights is an opportunity to get a Treant Fragment, and so I mentioned that way back in Dilmore when we took on the Vicious Plant, that you do have other opportunities to get it if you didn't get it from a drop there, and this is going to be one of them. Other than that, the party is actually starting to take on its identity, with Loki being in the Ranger class and Rush being in the Assassin's class. The whole intention there is that their unions will be able to stand by and eventually strike from the sides or from behind, and with Balson in the Guardian class leading his union, he'll be able to tank especially well, making use of the Defend command when appropriate. And so you'll see in these boss fights and in the ones to come in this video how I basically take advantage of those union leader abilities, and see the party actually function as a way that I had intended for them from the start.
You're all right now that I'm here.
My gratitude.
I should inform you, there's no way I will lose.
Come on! We've caught him with the pants down! Piece of cake!
I know I'm good. What are you looking at?
Are you all right?
How you like that?
nothing. That's not my gig. I know I'm good.
At last, it is mine. But my need is not so great.
What are you looking at?
Like that, is it?
Are you all right?
Nothing to do but fight now, is there?
Kick in their faces from the side.
I know I'm good.
Impressive, huh?
Alright, so 1 quest down and 2 to go. We'll kick off the second one here momentarily. I've got some accessory requests from my party members, and the one I want to comment on here is Pagus. He's asking for the beast bone carving, which I crafted off camera. It's an amulet. It's got a rank of 55. And so what that means is when I let him have it, he's not going to be interested in any accessories of that type that are of lower rank. It's an amulet, and so it occupies his top slot. Mystic characters tend to take them for the top slots. Physical characters put amulets on the bottom slot. And this is all assuming that they are balance focused. I wanted to fill the top slot early so that the of the 2 accessory slots for Pagus, the bottom one has the lower ranked accessory in it. When characters get remnants, and remnants are character specific, the remnant will go in whichever slot currently has the lower ranked accessory. And so when he gets the heartache, I actually want it to go in the bottom slot. That still reserves the top slot for a higher ranked combat arts, boosting accessory, a belt specifically. And so when the time comes, I'll be able to boost his combat arts twice from the Heartache, and then once more from another accessory. So that's very character-specific fine-tuning, but I know that accessory requests are not often addressed, and so I figured I'd say just a little bit about it here, given that there was an opportunity there on camera for him to request an accessory. We're going to start the second quest here, the Disappearing Knights. We've got a couple things to do besides the quest itself. First off, we're going to get some ether water once we're in the fourth path, and then we're going to harvest a few things for Iridis. And so this is the part where I said I would issue a warning, and I'll say it even more, or revisit it once we get there, that you don't want to open a chest in this area too early. You want to make sure that you have upgraded Iridis once, so you return to town and ignore the chest, and then revisit this area afterwards to pick up a key item for his upgrade if you're using him to fulfill the Lance of Longinus guild task. So again, a couple guild tasks though we'll take care of. We need 3 pieces of ether water, or vials of ether water, while we're here. We're also looking for Dark Fiend talons, which we can get from the mini boss fight inside. Those are dropped by the Hypnos. There's a morsel while we're here, and again a treasure chest to avoid. Alright, so this is the key harvest point in this area. We're going to be able to get 2 components from this that we need. The first here is the Meteorite. That's the final component for Iridis, that will allow him to upgrade to the Commander's Harpoon. It'll also shift him to Physical Focus, which is what we needed to do in order to take him down the Lance of Longinus upgrade path. Again, he just needed 1 piece of Meteorite, and so that completes what he needed. We also need 3 vials of ether water. That completes its own guild task, and so once we get those, we're going to move on. I'm going to save it prior to the boss fight, looking hopefully to get an item from the boss fight for another guild task I need. 4 Dark Fiend talons, and they are dropped by the Hypnos in that fight. If you don't want to save scum that, though, you have another opportunity to get whatever you're missing from the Harpilia boss in the Aqueducts. Here, once again, just showing that Iridis has everything he needs. We're going to skip the chest containing a component required for the next upgrade. We'll return to town. He will upgrade on his own, and then we will return here immediately following that action.
There's still plenty of power left in these old bones.
Just going to make a quick comment about this treasure chest. If you've already given the Assassin's Dagger to someone, it could be Oaks. In this case, I went back and I crafted another one, and I have a pair of Assassin's Daggers on a Cocos. This treasure chest will give you the magic lamp. You'll need 2 of them per weapon, though, to upgrade, and so I'm going to have to get them from another source. You actually get them in Foreign Strand later on. But again, pointing out that if you only had 1 Assassin's Dagger, you can get the components for the upgrade from that treasure chest. And one more comment to be made here. This is another one of the Jorgen items for the Amnesia quest, the Staff of Remembrance. And so if that's what is needed for the Jorgen variant you're looking to use, now you're able to obtain that. Still not committed to whether or not I'm going to use Jorgen, so we're just going to keep those items in our inventory until later. Alright, so this is the warning I said I would give. This is the treasure chest that you do not want to open on this trip. Again, if you're using Iridus to reach the Lance of Longinus, it contains the Aged Spear, which is what he will need following his current upgrade. Instead, though, we are going to pick up the Dakruon Morsel here on the ground. This is the 9th morsel if you've been keeping up with what I've been gathering so far. And so it does increase his digs count by 1 and fully restores his digs. Up ahead is the final fortress where you find the Void Intruder. And so if you're looking for achievements, say you're playing the PS4 or the 360 version, you do have to take down the Void Intruder in order to do so. And unfortunately, I had saved it, and I went and restored my game, took on the Void Intruder, got it down in 1 fight, and didn't realize until much later that I didn't record it. And so here you're going to see a hiccup where there is no fight, but I did return to this point and begin recording again. So that's unfortunate, but the fight went very well given the current setup with Loki as a ranger and Rush as an assassin. We did abuse those flanking and rear assault opportunities. And on the PS4, I know for the longest time that the Thunder Breath move that it uses was very much bugged. Could make this fight near impossible at this stage of the game, but last I've seen that's been corrected. And so if you're at this point in the game and your party is just as developed as mine is, you should be able to get through that without much hassle. Towards the end of this clip, I'm going to save it and restart recording once more. Now there is one more guild task item I'm looking to get while we're here, and what I want is Land Insecta Fluid. You can get that from fighting the killer insects here in the 5th path. And so once again, I'll stop the video, record, and show that I have obtained those, and then we'll complete this quest. Okay, so you'll see here, as expected, Iridus did upgrade. The next components that he needs are Royotian Steel, the Aged Spear, and Silver Ore. He needs one piece of each, and thankfully he already cloned the Royotian Steel from before, so no problems there. The thing is, we need Silver Ore, and we can get both of those components from the Blackdale second entrance all the way at the very end. You recall when we were doing Zuido's quest that there's a harvest point there that gives you both Silver Ore and Royotian Steel. And before I head there, though, I'm going to return, as you see, to the fourth path. We're going to sprint right through this area all the way to that treasure chest, and then I'm going to teleport on out of here. That way he can immediately upgrade to the Giga Spear, which is the one tier below the Lance of Longinus, and then following that we'll be able to hunt down 2 of the 3 components needed for the Lance of Longinus, and he will be set until we reach the second half of the game.
Come on out! Okay, later. Right. Come on out! Okay, later. All right! Awesome!
Alright, so once again Iridus has everything he needs. We'll just return to town, which triggers the upgrade. And you'll see here he has now upgraded to the Giga Spear. The next set of upgrades, as I'm about to show, are for the Lance of Longinus, and we are going to head right over and get 2 of those 3 components right away. The Primordial Alloy, you may recall, you can get in Numer Mine in the area where the Godwoods are. Boggart Core is a little trickier though. What we're going to do is we're going to knock out another guild task by taking down the rare Crimson Ape, which is in Blackdale. It is a one-time rare, so it's 100% capture, but that is not a guaranteed split from it. The Boggart Core that we need is the rarest of the 4 components you can get from it, and so we are going to save it and retry the fight if we don't get it on the first try.
Come on out! Okay, later. Come on out! All right! Awesome! Okay, later. Come on out! Okay, later.
So if you enter the Obsidian Trail and you see a Skull Scavenger sitting there, that's the indication that a rare monster has not spawned. And so as you see, I just reset my game, entered it a second time, and this time around we're going to get the Crimson Ape. That same spot right by where the Skull Scavenger was is a potential spot for the Violet Leaf Hopper, which is another rare, and so if you get that, you're not going to get the Crimson Ape. What I tend to do is walk over near where the Violet Leaf Hopper spawns to see if it emerges from the ground before I move much further into the area. But again, it's a rare that is not much further in. It's a one-time rare that you'll capture, but it's not guaranteed that we're going to get that Boggart Core from the split, so definitely save it before you take it down.
Let's do this! Attack maybe?
What are you looking at?
Bring it on!
These foes won't be an easy fight.
All
I know I'm good.
Alright, that's it for Iridus for the time being. We have the Primordial Alloy and the Boggart Core. The Rock Raider tail is something that's going to have to wait until early in the second half when we get access to Yavlok's Nest. Now we're going to return to Melphina. We'll take on the final of the 3 Knights quests and probably wrap up this video upon completion of that. Alright, so naturally I'm going to save it here before we try this quest fight. This can be pretty challenging, sometimes even more challenging than Nest of Eagles, and the big hang up here is that you're not able to use the Gay Bolg. So any fight where you have a guest union, or if you have a summon, you're not able to use the Gay Bolg. Same deal as if you've got a guest union, you're not going to be able to use a summon. And so something to keep in mind when you're taking on some of the later boss fights where you have a helper guest union, and some of those guest unions are not so helpful. You're not going to get the Gay Bolg option. You're not going to get a summon in play. And that's the case here. And so since I can't rely on the Gay Bolg, it's either the brute strength of my party, or if I'm not able to get through it here on the first attempt, I'm going to have to bring out David and use the blackout strategy, which I demonstrated at the start of this video. That is certainly reliable here. Blackout is not hindered by whether or not you have a guest union. But spoiler alert, I was able to get through this really without much hassle. So enjoy this fight, and we'll be wrapping up this video just after completion.
Slime like you are creeping around. Come on, let's kick some ass. You okay? We're counting on you!
Thank you, Kai.
Come on, let's kick some A!
Suck it!
Take this!
Phew. There's still plenty of power left in these old bones.
This is what I've been searching for. A second too late.
So we're going to end the video here with a trip to the guild where I can speak about the various Melphina knights that are now available for hire. First up is the unique leader Roberto, who begins as a monk but is just steps away from becoming a bard. Legendary bard is able to clear union ailments in a single turn. worthwhile to include one of those, or even a handful of those, when taking on some of the later game bosses. He gets a free Remnant weapon through story fights, and so weapon upgrades are not really an issue for him. Has naturally high strength growth and HP growth, so definitely consider adding him. Neo, while a generic, has very well developed herbs. He will passively drift into the scout class if you don't actively develop his weapon levels. He's a guardian candidate if you can get his sword levels out very early. You'll have to put a lot of focus into that, and he is only 3 points away before qualifying for scout. He's also an assassin candidate if you can develop his one-handed levels. Venery here is also another guardian candidate. If you use him passively, he'll probably become a hunter, but again, if you get his weapon levels out in front of his lotions development, he could become a guardian. He has very low level lotions, but he has eye cream, so he can contribute as a healer. Here I'm hovering over the heater shield that he begins with. If you switch him over to the tower shield line, he will upgrade to the Shield of the Vanquisher, which is arguably the ultimate shield of the game. Here, Lucora is one of those talented generics with 2 sets of skills, very similar to Hematea in that he has invocations and hexes, both of which are at level 6. He begins in the Magus class, and so whichever of these 2 skills you gain a level in first will either tip him to the Marauder class or the Specialist class. And so if you're looking for an early game hex unit, this is basically a powered up version of Perneth, which was available early on. We did pick up. You see, I have yet to decide if I'm going to include Lucora or not. I do have Texthon, and if you caught it at the beginning of the video, Texthon already has Cachexia, so he is basically set for the fall and later in the game. We'll pick up the next video with resuming with more quests and more guild tasks, and almost done with the first half.